In this WrestleTalk news, Chris Jericho teases a return to WWE, Vince McMahon thinks everything is fine, Nixed Kurt Angle WWE return plans revealed, and more. Subscribe and enable notifications to Always On for daily wrestling news videos, because WWE played a stupendous commercial during last night's Super Bowl, and I think it may bring in some new casual fans. Hello new casual fans. Don't look at wrestling Twitter. It's an awful place.
Support WrestleTalk!
When AEW first announced its arrival back in 2019, Chris Jericho was one of their biggest signings. Jericho was the first guy to break down the walls of the Forbidden Door, before the Forbidden Door was even a thing, when he worked New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom 12 in a match against Kenny Omega, which has been credited as one of the most important wrestling matches of all time. Without that match, there might not have been an AEW. Although he was officially a free agent at the time, he was still working with WWE, and even asked Vince McMahon if he was okay with him working a show for New Japan Pro Wrestling. He did interviews around that time where he said because of his relationship with Vince and the WWE, he would not wrestle for another promotion in North America, only doing dates around the world. And then he signed with AEW and has done loads of wrestling in North America. He beat Omega in the main event of AEW's first big pay-per-view Double or Nothing, and then defeated Hangman Page in the main event of All Out to become the inaugural AEW World Heavyweight Champion. It was thought to be a smart move on AEW's part at the time, using a face that lapsed fans would recognize to possibly bring them back into wrestling. He lost that title in February 2020, but has remained a constant presence on AEW Dynamite since with his Inner Circle faction. Many figured that, like Christian Cage recently revealed he was going to be doing, Chris Jericho would finish up his in-ring career in AEW and maybe even transition to a commentary role, which he did during the pandemic era of All Elite Wrestling and has been doing regularly on Rampage. But a recent tweet might suggest otherwise. Yesterday marked 5 years, so it's the 4th anniversary, not the 5th for those pedantic enough to care, cough Adam Blompier cough, since the Festival of Friendship angle on Monday Night Raw where Kevin Owens split up his team with Chris Jericho in one of the best segments on WWE TV in years. The plan was for this to lead to a WrestleMania main event over the Universal Championship, but WWE instead decided to put the belt on Goldberg, and the two wrestled second on the card for the US title. Jericho has since said that this decision was one of the reasons he decided to leave WWE. To mark the 5-year celebration, Kevin Owens changed his profile picture on Twitter to a screenshot from the event, to which Jericho responded, "I haven't forgotten, Owens. You'll never know when you'll see me again." Now, likely this is just Jericho and Owens doing stuff on Twitter to work the marks like me, but there could be more to it. Jericho signed a 3-year deal with AEW in 2019, which would have expired last month. Dave Meltzer reported back in August last year that Jericho had a 1-year option on his deal, which would see him with the company for the rest of 2022, which one would presume is the case, given he was on Dynamite last week and has a match this week. However, we have recently seen that Cody Rhodes has been working for AEW without a contract as technically a free agent. He even won a title, so there's no guarantee that Jericho is sticking around. It is currently unknown whether or not Chris Jericho is signed with AEW. What would you like to see Jericho do next? Stay with AEW or go back to WWE? Let me know in the comments down below. Either way, Vince McMahon thinks everything is fine. Thank you for your support on Patreon, Barbaric Garrick Morgan and Chris the Cypriot Sensation Petru. Get your own personalized shout out in the WrestleTalk news over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. There was a report a few weeks back from Fightful Select that said morale amongst talent in WWE was at an all-time low, with one going on record saying that outside of maybe 4 wrestlers, nothing matters on WWE TV. They noted that when fans criticize the product in good faith, especially with regards to a lack of consistent storytelling and things often not making sense, the wrestlers themselves have made the same criticisms backstage. But according to Vince McMahon, this is fine, because they just made a record-breaking $1 billion in revenue. Responding to a disgruntled fan's question during a PW Insider Q&A show, Mike Johnson mentioned that Vince McMahon shrugs off all criticism towards his show because he likes it. Johnson said in his mind, he doesn't think anything is wrong. The company made $1 billion last year, so there's a billion reasons for him to shrug off any criticisms. We're told that he pushes and presents what he likes and wants, and nothing else makes a dent in that vision. That's why the shows are presented the way they are, and that's why nothing is going to change anytime soon, if ever. WWE TV ratings are down year on year, and while USA Network is also down across the board, Fox is up 10%. But WWE are clearly looking to turn that around for 2022, airing a commercial for their WrestleMania season during last night's Super Bowl. This is the first time WWE has run commercials during the Super Bowl since 1999, and this is likely because WWE has two major announced matches for Mania that would appeal to casual fans: Roman Reigns vs. Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship, and Charlotte Flair vs. Ronda Rousey for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Dave Meltzer is also speculating that this appeal to casual fans could continue, as Sami Zayn could take on Johnny Knoxville from Jackass in a match at Mania. Meltzer also noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that these are really Peacock commercials, which means they weren't paid for by WWE. He speculates that Peacock could be in line to score second-day rights to Raw and NXT, and possibly even SmackDown, which means they will be on the WWE Network 24 hours after their airings on USA and Fox. Do you think the Super Bowl commercials will lead to more people watching Raw and SmackDown, or maybe just even signing up for Peacock to watch the pay-per-views? Please do let me know in the comments down below. It wasn't all plain sailing for WWE during the Super Bowl, however, as during the halftime show where Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, 50 Cent, and Kendrick Lamar did a performance that made a lot of people in their mid-30s lose their minds. Hello, I'm one of them and have been listening to 2001 all morning. WWE tweeted, "Super Bowl halftime show got us feeling like," with a picture of John Cena during his Doctor of Thugonomics gimmick. The tweet caught backlash from fans and was quickly deleted. And speaking of things being cancelled, it was reported a few weeks ago that Kurt Angle was heading back to WWE for a short-term storyline that could possibly lead to a WrestleMania match. This was then confirmed by Angle himself on his podcast, but said WWE cancelled the plans at the last minute. Ringside News then later reported that Angle wasn't scheduled for a Mania match, and the storyline was just a pitch that hadn't been signed off by Vince McMahon. Sean Ross Sapp on Fightful Select now has more details on what those plans for Angle were. According to SRS, Angle was lined up to be part of the Academic Challenge series between RK Bro and Alpha Academy, with the three contests being based around Angle's three I's: intensity, integrity, and intelligence. Not only that, but Sean Ross Sapp adds that there was a pitch to have him be a special guest referee for a match in Saudi Arabia at Elimination Chamber, but that did not end up happening. Last year, Angle revealed he had multiple offers by AEW to join their ranks, but he turned them down, and it looks like AEW aren't done with signing talent just yet. The former Isaiah Swerve Scott, now going by Swerve the Realist or just Swerve Scott, was released by WWE last November, which means he is now a free agent and can work wherever he pleases. Over the weekend, he appeared at Defy, shortly after Darby Allin offered Nick Wayne his All Elite Wrestling contract and teased future matches between the two. According to Sean Ross Sapp on Fightful Select, plans are in order from at least one major company to work with him in some capacity. Swerve the Realist to AEW confirmed. Before we jump onto that bandwagon, however, AEW might not be the company that Sapp is referring to. He does add that AEW asked about Swerve's status extremely early in his free agency to gauge when he'd be available, but also noted that New Japan USA have made him a firm offer, and many expect MLW to make an effort to sign him if they haven't already. SRS noted on the Backstage Report podcast that he cannot confirm if MLW have made a contract offer to him. Suffice to say, Swerve won't have any problems making money outside of WWE.
Number 1, Ric Flair shoots on Becky Lynch. Again, what is going on with Ric Flair? Following that Dark Side of the Ring episode, he seems to have been a little more unhinged than normal, and the target of his ire is centered on Becky Lynch, whether it's a title exchange segment with his daughter Charlotte Flair, Becky calling herself the man, or like in this case, Becky having the audacity to cut a promo on Raw. You can be sure that Flair Sr. has something to say about